Welcome back to the Whatnauts Reactor Core. My name is Kyle Springer. I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, who is the true detective? That's what I want to know. 4 seasons in, I still haven't figured it out yet. It's still a mystery. Who is the true detective?
You know that one episode of Power Rangers where they bring in like 12 different Red Rangers from different generations of Power Rangers?
Right, yeah.
Eventually, decades in, we'll get that for every true detective.
We'll
find
hope
out
so.
Who's truest.
I hope so. That'd be wild. We are here to talk about season 4 of True Detective, which has been titled True Detective Night Country. The finale just happened yesterday. As of us recording this, I watched it earlier today. So yeah, it is fresh on our minds. Before we dive into that, though, I do want to mention that, Melissa, you and I both got to talk about True Detective Season 1 on one of our other podcasts, the Whatnauts review show. I'll put the link to it up there in the corner thing like they do. I'll be a good YouTuber and put the link up there. So yeah, if you guys want to go check it out, that would be fantastic. But that's kind of why we wanted to talk about season 4 here. We were like, ooh, new True Detective. We can talk a bit about it. How cool is that? Yeah.
I have only seen that first season, and I just watched it a couple months ago for the first time. So I have very little True Detective context.
But you have the necessary context.
If you say so.
Yeah, it is an anthology, even though technically it all kind of takes place in the same universe. Maybe that's just not an important detail, really. But there are a few little Easter eggs and connections every now and then. But you have seen the necessary stuff, which even then you can watch season 4 by itself and you'll be totally fine. You don't need to have seen.
I'm the person who prepares for a new movie by watching the director's previous movies, even if this is not a franchise and there is no continuity. I need the context.
Yeah. I'm also kind of the same way of like, I would kind of want to go back to season 1 and watch all of it, and even season 2 and 3 and all of that stuff just to get caught up, right? But you don't need to do all of that. Yeah, season 4, True Detective. Melissa, having only seen that first season, like you mentioned, what did you think of season 4 here? Just kind of top level stuff.
It's got a great concept, a great setting, initial mystery hook. You're in this tiny town in the Arctic Circle up in Alaska. These men leave their scientific research base. I was going to say in the middle of the night, but we're in the time of year when it's permanent night.
Yeah.
Not permanent night, but night for like months on end. The night has just begun. They run out into the snow. They are found frozen, terrified, nude, all in a pile together. Something that would be a lot more fun if you were inside a building, to be in a big nude pile together. But bad out there in the Arctic Circle. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's a little chilly out there, you know? Oh, good Lord. Yeah, I enjoyed this well enough. I think it was a pretty decent show overall. I think the writing is there, the acting is there, like you said, like that initial hook of what the mystery is neat. And I think this one of the 4 seasons does lean a little bit more into the kind of supernatural stuff. And I think I think this is the season, if I'm remembering correctly, that it just kind of leaves the most unanswered questions. There's just stuff out there that like, I wonder what that means, or how that really happened, or maybe it went down like they said. Who knows? Yeah, and I found that to be interesting, that there is some room for interpretation of what characters saw, what they say they saw, what they think they saw, all that stuff. What we saw as an audience, right? There's a little bit of room for interpretation there. But I think, unfortunately, the lightning in a bottle that was season 1 of True Detectives just kind of is such an impossibly high like benchmark of like, well, what should we compare this to? Well, obviously the best season of this show.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair. I think that's what everyone is gonna do, but I don't think it holds a candle to that first season. But I don't think like that's not its own fault, right? It's just it's kind of a victim of circumstances there. So I thought it was fine. I think it would have been just as good if it was not related to True Detective, but I think that True Detective branding, so to speak, I guess helps get more eyeballs while watching it, right?
Yeah, and it was an existing anthology show. This is what it is for. Do you have a limited idea? Do you have an 8-episode worth idea? Is it about at least one detective? Well, this is where it can go.
To be clear, the True Detective series was created by Nick Pizzolatto. However, this is the first season where he is not the showrunner. He is not writing these episodes. I think he really didn't have all that much creative control on.
He's listed as a producer. Matthew and Woody also still sticking around as producers.
Yeah, so was Kari Joji Fukunaga. I always forget what his last name is, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think as the first entry into True Detective that was not in the original creator's hands, I thought it was decent. I liked it for sure. But I do kind of want to get into some spoilers and stuff like that. So if you haven't seen it yet, I say go check it out. I think it's worth your time. Just try not to compare it to season 1 because it's not going to hit those heights there. To no fault
it is
of its
6
own.
episodes, not 8.
Yes, yeah,
pretty
6
true.
episodes. I guess I should mention, since I didn't mention Nick Pizzolatto's name, this season was created by Issa Lopez, who was the showrunner, writer, and director for this one. So there you go. With that being said, though, I say we get into spoilers. So I'm going to hit our spoiler button so that you guys know from here on out we'll be discussing some stuff that might spoil it if you have not seen it. Bam, there we go. Can you believe that it was all the Coca-Cola Pepsi bears that did this? Wow, who would have thought?
Coca-Cola bears I know. Pepsi bears I don't know. I don't got bears.
Whatever. Yeah, so where do you kind of start with this?
I want to ask, how do you think this season did on just straight up detective work?
I kind of wish there was more.
I really liked what they had,
Sure.
but I don't think it was lacking, but I will always take more.
Yeah. I think that is kind of partially because this is a shorter season. It's only 6 episodes. I don't mind what we had. I do wish that there was more detectiving, especially with the finale kind of seeing all of those women there in that room being like, yeah, we collectively did this thing, and we didn't really get to talk to any of those women at all. Like, they were never really under suspicion at any point.
Mm-hmm.
Even the one, like, they had the one scene of like, oh, there's that one woman with the missing fingers. That wasn't a detail that I ever paid attention to earlier on in the show, and they did a montage where it was like the camera focusing on her hands here, and I was like, I don't think we got those shots earlier on. but I like, yeah, I kind of would have liked to see other members of the community or something like that come under suspicion at some point, which we did not get. But I was okay with what we did get.
Yeah, I like the focus on asking questions and asking the right questions and
Yeah.
going down a path as deep as you can and finding deviations and narrowing in on what do I really need to know? Where it's not who killed her, it's who knows who killed her. The scenes of them, even if it's sometimes in a cinematically like perfect giant circle, laying out all of the evidence, all of the photos, listening to or watching a video clip over and over and over again. I think I saw a little bit more of the shoe leather of being a detective in this season that I did appreciate.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because as I was watching this, but especially in the second half of the show, it became clear to me that this show is really like an exploration on loneliness. You know, both of the detectives are one of them has lost their family and as a result has kind of shut everyone else out, even their new adopted family. They've just kind of isolated themselves, and as a result, you know, they're angry and they're bitter. And then the other detective has kind of been isolated from her culture, her community, because she didn't grow up with them. She does not remember her like native name, and so as a result, is kind of an outcast amongst her own people. And we see a number of other characters who are lonely in their own way, from ordering like Russian mail order brides to just like people who've been kicked out of their homes and stuff like that. And it's just compounded then by the darkness of the setting, the cold setting, this isolated town up in where there's nothing up there, and yeah, it's just I feel like in a town like that, I feel like maybe I should know the town a little bit more. Who is in there? That's
I would
just
have
to
taken
add
more.
on. Yeah, to add on to the. I wish they did more detective work, but they do sit with the same things over and over again, right? Like you said, they're putting all these pictures out. They're watching the same video over and over again, and it's kind of representative of that loneliness. They're kind of stuck in those same cycles, just doing the same thing over and over and over. So I think thematically this show was really interesting, was really fun to watch, and had some some really great stuff. So I liked it a lot. Did you
Very
catch?
eerie.
Oh yeah.
No, I just want to mention that this director, Issa Lopez, came from a horror background, and you can definitely tell in this season. There's some real gnarly imagery. There's just the concept of it being entirely night up there is so effective at putting you on edge.
Yeah, absolutely. It almost feels like The Purge without it being The Purge, right? It's like it's a time of year there's going to be no sunshine, and just has this like eerie feel to it of like shit can go down when it's night all the time, right? I don't know.
Yeah. I think with the main characters we are spending our time with, they are very they're people with a lot of issues they're dealing with.
Oh yeah.
And the night definitely doesn't help. I'm sure there's other folks out there in that town who live less traumatic lives, who are just in it for the night. They're like, well, it's night for a couple months, and they don't experience mental breakdowns or see visions or kill anybody.
A well-adjusted night owl that is just out there living their own life.
I guess that's what the purpose that Rose Agano serves. When you're talking about loneliness, she seems like the one character who is isolated but seems content with that.
Yes.
I like that she's the sort of like mysterious wise woman they go visit who like planted herself in this place. She's not from it. It's not exactly clear what brought her there, but she came there of her own accord and is happy there.
Yeah.
And knows how to do all this stuff, like hide several bodies.
Yeah. But that's she's also not immune to the weird things happening in the town. She is seeing visions of her dead husband that lead her to then discovering the bodies of the men from the Salal. It's not a factory, the laboratories. I don't know. But yeah, like she does seem like the most well adjusted, and I liked this scene where after Pryor has to dump his dad's body in the lake, she's just kind of sitting with him, and she's just like, well, you're in it now. If you think the hard part is over, it's not. It sucks. It's forever. You just kind of have to be there with it, and that's it. So yeah, like I like that stuff. I think they did a good job of looking at different ways characters are lonely or how they deal with it, stuff like that. So good stuff. Did you by chance catch any of the connections to season 1? I think the obvious one is the big spiral.
They say time is a flat circle, which even if you haven't seen the show, you know that phrase.
Yeah.
That's all I knew before I watched True Detective.
Yeah. I can taste the ash in the atmosphere. Yeah, and then also, if I'm not mistaken, I think the company that owned the mine or owned Salal that was funding Salal was the Tuttle Industries, which was, I think, the same company that owned the churches down there in Hazen 1. Beyond that, though, I didn't really catch much, and I did not look at like Easter egg connection videos for this. But I think between the obvious like spiral and that connection, I think people were really, really looking for major connections to like, well, what does it mean that this connects back to season 1? What's really happening here if this same like supernatural force and this same company is like all of this stuff? What does it mean? And I don't think it means anything.
Right. I think sometimes something is just an Easter egg and not a clue, but now you're the true detective.
It's me all along.
Right.
The true detectives are the friends made along the way.
We live in an era where people are more of a detective than they've ever been before.
Right. Yeah. No, but I think that was kind of the zeitgeist around this show, and it didn't really answer much. It didn't give you answers into that stuff. And I did see a number of people very disappointed by that, of like, it didn't explore this stuff, the connections here. There's just unanswered questions. Why didn't we get answers? And I think, depending on how you look at it, Jodie Foster's character at the end there has a line that basically says like, hey, some questions just don't have answers. And on one hand, you can look at that as like a slap in the face of like, well, why would you make this a True Detective show? This didn't need to be a True Detective. You didn't need to have all these connections in there. What happened? This is stupid. Or you can just be like, you know what? It's just a mystery. Who knows? Who cares?
Yeah.
Right? Have fun.
Right.
Make your own connections.
You and I come from Lost backgrounds, so we are very well adjusted. We've made our great peace with the concept of unanswered questions.
That one, though, at least they had that, like, you know what? Not every question is gonna be answered. They had that they had their own version of that line earlier on in the show, even though most people didn't catch it and didn't pay attention to it. They still had their moment of John Locke talking to Richard, and he's just like, all of these weird things happening. Don't worry, that's not the point.
Yeah. Nope.
Yeah. It is more so about the characters and the journeys they went on, and I think the biggest kind of emotional punch that I got out of this show was seeing, and again, I'm terrible with names, the other detective, Callie Reese's character, Evangeline Navarro. When she says her full name there in the finale, that was like, fuck yeah. She does not skip a beat. She says her full name. This is who I am. And I'm just like,
the first possible opportunity to say it to another person. She's
amazing.
So proud.
she is, right? And that to me was like the emotional high. Like, yes, she knows her name. She's included.
Good.
Even though we do also get the emotional beat for Jodie Foster's character, Detective Danvers, in the kind of like ending montage when she's finally connecting with her adopted daughter. They're eating sandwiches, they're laughing, they're having a good time. The daughter has those tribal tattoos back
I noticed
on.
That. Cool.
Again, so I'm assuming the second time they're not temporary, right?
I was looking at the sandwiches, to be honest. I missed the tattoo. I wanted to know what was in those sandwiches.
Melissa was asking the wrong questions. Is that ham or turkey? What are you eating?
I'm not a good detective.
But yeah, they have some good moments like that at the end there. But her saying her name was the one that I was just like, yes, awesome, good stuff. So there you go. Do you have any other stuff that you wanted to talk about? I don't know if I had much. I mean, I guess speaking of Lost, we did have an actor from Lost in this. I guess mostly a minor character in Lost, so not necessarily recognizable, but
yeah, John Hawkes is in a couple of episodes in season 6 as a mysterious guy, but that's most guys on Lost.
He's a hippie.
You're a mysterious guy, or you're a guy who stands next to mysterious guy.
Yeah, he's a hippie that was in the secret temple and Lost. And if you're like, what the fuck? I never made it past the polar bear in Lost. Don't worry about it.
It's Lost is people you find in the jungle and people who find people in the jungle. Those are the two types of characters on Lost.
And then things that shouldn't be in the jungle. Like your dead dad and a horse.
Speaking of early 2000s entertainment, in the first episode, when you're there in the Salal research station and the TV breaks trying to play Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which that feels like it is broken in a supernatural way.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that's very creepy. Just the constant loop of twist and shout. You haven't thought before about what a violent image twist and shout is.
Yeah.
You're really getting something out of your system when you twist and shout. I think that's the theme of the show. I paused and I looked through all of the DVDs. There is a very obvious DVD of Kangaroo Jack up there.
Amazing.
I don't think it means anything, but I was amazed at the pull of Kangaroo Jack.
Again,
also
Melissa
an
asking
OC
the wrong
box set.
Questions. Kangaroo Jack, what does it mean? It's the next True Detective in Australia?
I guess what it symbolizes is us. The trailers for Kangaroo Jack made you think it was all about the kangaroo, when really he's like one 8-minute fantasy sequence in what is otherwise a like PG or PG-13 crime caper. It was originally an R-rated movie. And
That's
they had that
right.
kangaroo scene in there, and one of the producers is like, kids would love this kangaroo. You make a kid-friendly movie? Let's really push this kangaroo. Don't put him in more of the movie. We'll just put him in all of the advertising, and everyone will come to the theater for the kangaroo.
Season 5 of True Detective for the kids.
Little detective.
It's a some kind of crime that takes place on the set of Nickelodeon games and sports, right? It's on the Aggro Crag.
It's really about circles. It's really about time and circles, because kids still need to learn those things. They really go deep on different shapes and what the hands of a clock mean.
Season 5 of True Detective. Kel is the true detective. Anyways, no, I mean the one thing I don't know if I truly really liked about the finale is that, I mean, what we already kind of mentioned here is that you do learn that it was kind of this group of women that claim to have went in there, found out what happened, got all these men out, and just kind of set them out to walk on the ice and just go. And that's it. And even that account of things, there's loophole or not. Yeah, there's like there's some plot holes in that. There's some things that don't necessarily add up, but it's the best explanation that we got. So we kind of got to go with that. And because we didn't get to talk with those characters more, they were never really under suspicion. It did kind of feel like they just kind of pulled the rug out from underneath you. I don't know if I would go as far as to say, like, sometimes when you're watching like a crime show or some detective fiction, it'll be a mystery, like, oh well, there's no way I'd have solved that, right? There's so many details here that like this felt like one that with the right explanations, like I feel like I could have gotten that, or I like it could have been a plausible explanation and not some like hands up in the air like, what is this bullshit, like what, how what do you mean it was some guy from Australia that we never met? I don't know. And we did see those characters, so it didn't completely feel left field. The town is small, so these are the people that inhabit the town, but we didn't spend enough time with the town, I thought. So I guess that was the only thing that it was just like, it felt like they pulled the rug out from underneath me.
One detail I appreciated in the finale is learning that it's not the mining company paying off the lab to falsify reports saying, oh, we're not polluting. No, everything's fine up here. The fact that it's the other way around, that the lab wants to dig deep into the permafrost, deep into the ice, to extract this ancient microorganism that they believe could cure a lot of diseases, make true world-altering massive changes. And they're like, it's too difficult. It's too long of a process to get this thing out of the ice. We don't know if it'll survive being taken out of the ice. But if you pollute the area, that makes some of the permafrost melt and soften, and then we can do it. So for the sake of what this microorganism can do, Silver Sky Mining, please pollute. We pay you to pollute.
Yeah, just a weird like twist on the whole thing. But yeah, I liked that detail too. That's
I also, again, to bring up Lost, I love them crawling down the ladder into the ice hatch.
Yeah,
love a ladder into a hatch,
into a secret lab. Yeah. With a song playing on repeat. Well, yeah, good stuff. Yeah. I don't know. Go ahead, please.
Speaking of a song playing on repeat, I want to talk about the opening credits. I think that was something that was notable about the first season of True Detective. Everybody loved those opening credits. Don't know about the credits they have for seasons 2 and 3. Haven't seen them. I think the imagery in this is fantastic. Just the eeriness of a single object that shouldn't be there, seemingly shouldn't be there, just out in the tundra at night. And it's so dark and it's so snowy. This could be the middle of nowhere, or this could be somebody's backyard.
Right,
you have you have nothing to grab onto. You can see no horizon line. You can see no surroundings. It's just a rocking chair or a laundry drying stand.
Yeah.
just out in nowhere.
A bathtub,
and they're playing
just sitting there.
They're playing Bury a Friend by Billie Eilish, which is this was a song from like 2019, but it's weirdly hot right now because it played in the trailers for Madam Web. And it also, we went to the movies. We saw a trailer for Madam Web. Immediately after that, we saw a trailer for the horror movie Night Swim about a haunted pool. That's also playing Bury a Friend. Yeah. Back to back Bury a Friend trailers. And then this comes along.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's an interesting choice of song. I was even thinking about the music in general. I don't remember music being as big a part of other seasons of True Detective. And I definitely noticed the songs playing in episodes more. They do the whole thing of like pop culture song, like covers of pop culture songs that are like slowed down and in a minor key or something to make them sound.
They do it for Twist and Shout. Yeah.
Yeah. They do it for all sorts of them in this series. But yeah, just even if it wasn't that kind of song, I just noticed music playing more often. And I don't know if that was a specific creative choice, if that was something they were thinking about. Because again, like it's a show about loneliness and how people deal with that or deal with loss. And people often turn to music to get them through that stuff. Not that many of the songs that were played in there were like upbeat and happy, but
yeah, no Carly Rae Jepsen up here.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, it's just, it's something to think about, I guess.
Yeah. So. Could have thematic resonance, could be, maybe it's just a different directorial style. Maybe some creators are just more music focused than others. Maybe they wanted to focus on a lot of Alaska artists. They're like, let's really use the music of the setting.
Sure.
Haven't researched it. Not sure.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Good. Do you have any kind of wishes for potential season 5 of what you might like to see from a True Detective season 5?
Can't say. Don't know everywhere that we've been already.
True.
Wish I could.
More detectives.
I'll tell you eventually. Next year, I'll tell you.
Yeah. I legitimately want like in-depth detective work, which we've gotten some of that in the past for sure. But yeah, I like that kind of procedural.
Yes.
Step by step. Let's go talk to these people and see what they have to say. And how does this conversation change things here? I like that a lot.
I'd be down for that.
But yeah,
really lean on the detectiving.
Yeah, I also do like this idea of having a unique setting and how the setting plays into the mystery and the psyche of the characters and the themes of the show. I think that's neat. So
yeah, this is such a specific setting, literally and just sort of figuratively, emotionally, aesthetically, that we're in this season. So I feel like even if people had problems with it, this will stick with folks for a while to come.
For sure. Indeed. Well, yeah, I think that is our spoiler cast for True Detective Night Country. We hope you enjoyed the season as well. So yeah, Melissa, where can the people find you on the interwebs?
I don't really post anymore, but I can be messaged if you find me on a social media platform under Wilkywit, WILKYWIT.
There you go. You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer. And if you'd like to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts official on Threads. So please go like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out a ton. If you're watching this on YouTube, go check out more of our videos right over there on that side. That would help us out a ton as well. But yeah, this has been number 136 of the Whatnauts Reactor Core. We'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.